You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Looney Lewis, and today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show, Ablorde Ashigbi. He is the CEO of 4 Degrees, a Chicago-based technology company applying machine intelligence to help teams in relationship-driven industries. And he does this by helping them manage their most important source of opportunity, their professional networks. When he is not doing that, he is usually lifting weight, reading fantastic business books, and eating barbecue. And just found that he is from Ghana, just as we were talking earlier. So I'm really excited to bring this phenomenal guest to the show. Ablorde, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's an honor. Tell us, your work is so fascinating, and I was telling you off the air that it's unique and very distinct in the way that you're using machine learning, AI to actually help the relationship-driven industries. But before we get into what 4 Degrees is and what it does, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us about your journey here.
Yeah. So the journey for 4 Degrees comes from a set of personal experiences and professional experiences I had before building the company. So directly before that, I actually spent my career, or a good chunk of my career, in private investments. So think like private equity and venture capital, which are heavily relationship dependent. Mm-hmm. And so it was that was one of the places where I recognized kind of the importance of the relationship network and how kind of old and unfortunately archaic the set of tools that we use to manage that were. And then before then, I worked in a management consulting firm, which again is kind of similarly relationship driven. And so I remember watching the partners at this organization who had these long-standing relationships with Fortune 500 company executives that they were managing in a combination of whiteboards in their office or Excel spreadsheets or similar. And so we saw an opportunity across both of those domains to build the product that we wished we had, and that ultimately we saw as changing the way that those businesses and many others could operate. And so kind of the journey that I had kind of personally and professionally directly led to this.
Yeah, and it's pivotal because relationships are so crucial in just scaling your business, growing your business, but also just the opportunity to network, to actually learn within the industry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think you kind of described it when you were talking a little bit about the company, but I fundamentally do believe that there's no more important source of opportunity that any professional has than the relationships they build and the network that they surround themselves with. So whether it's your capability of finding your next job or moving upwards within a position that you have, or if you are trying to secure that next big client, or so many of the other things that we see as being career defining moments are given to us or are presented to us through people that we know and we built relationships with.
Yeah. And then there's a big push right now for getting into masterminds and developing masterminds where you are gathered with 2 or 3 people who shares your values, who are on the same level as you are, and you can actually excel and thrive in leveraging on each other's knowledge, which is quite powerful. And so that exemplifies the importance of actually who's around you when you're building your empire, you're building your business, who is in your circle. Because if they don't inspire you, if they don't motivate you, then you are in not a circle, but you're in a cage, right? It can mentally hold you down.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more.
So tell us a little bit about how can companies foster this crucial, important relationship and network?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first step is to be intentional about the fact that relationship networks matters, and it's something that you do want to foster, right? And so I think there has to be, a conversation that's had at the leadership levels of companies and just kind of brought downwards of, given that we know these relationships really do matter for us, what is it that we can do collectively to have a real focused intent and practice around ensuring that those are maintained and managed appropriately. And then from there, you can start to dive into some of the tactics and strategies one might use to make that happen. So one is for people who you see as being critical business relationships of yours, just making sure you stay in contact with them. So at base, is this someone that you're touching base with every year, every 6 months, every 3 months? Obviously, you can tier that a bit depending on the precise role that person plays within your team's relationship network. But just maintaining regular connectivity and interaction is probably the base for which you can start to build that relationship. The second is going beyond just the transactional conversation when you have them. So it's one thing to say, hey, I'm going to send this person an email newsletter once every 6 months and call it even. It's another thing entirely to have a deep understanding of where they spend their time outside of work, what the names of their kids are, where their 2 or 3 or 5 top priorities are for the year, and what you can do or what you as a firm can do to help them accomplish those or help them advance those, and finding different ways to insert that thoughtfulness in the relationship to help them make progress in their lives. And so I tend to find that a combination of those things makes the relationship management across a team be far more compelling. Yeah,
and it's something as small as remembering birthdays and just reaching out.
Absolutely.
On your birthday or sending a birthday card, not just happy holidays, but something more personal, kid's birthday.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's really great to foster that in those ways. And you can do that easily with LinkedIn. You have these automated messages that you can do to stay connected. At some point, it is better than nothing. But what I'm hearing from you want to move away from the transactional and actually get more personal and know them for who they are. Like that requires time, and energy.
Yeah, it can require time and energy. Certainly technology can help take some of that off your plate. And so that's part of what 4 Degrees does. Now, I actually am a believer that while, to your point, LinkedIn can help in at least helping you remember that some of these key events have occurred, I think moving away from the automated message towards something that feels more real and more authentic is pretty important. And in fact, I think a lot of people could easily sniff out that this was essentially a recommended message from LinkedIn versus something that someone took the time to actively kind of create and send. And at least in some circles, I know that sending the automated message is worse than sending nothing at all. Mm-hmm. And so you certainly want, when you do choose to convey appreciation, gratitude, congratulations, et cetera, I think maybe the additional minute you might spend putting together a note that's more customized has a significant return on investment on that time.
And it has to be intentional because it does require an effort. It does require some time. And I can imagine as any busy CEO or entrepreneur, they have to see the value in doing that because it's really easier to use a recurring customer or client than to get a new one, right? So the value is there within itself. Now tell me how 4 Degrees can simplify that process.
Yeah. So some examples of some of the things we do for our customers. So we plug into communication channels like email and calendar and actually use that to automatically pick up and track the relationship network that the team has formed. And so one advantage that comes with that is we're able to instantly identify for you your best connection path into a given company or person. So if you decide that there's a specific business who you'd love to be a client of yours, or maybe that you're trying to help a client of yours with, you're able to kind of understand the connectivity and figure out your best path in instantly. Another example is actually some of those recurring reminders we described before. Our products will allow you to say, I want to make sure I'm touching base with this person once every 6 months or 3 months or similar. And if you haven't had that conversation, which we can detect because we're plugged into email and calendar, we can alert you to the fact that you're overdue to do so. Another example might be if we go and search the world for news and information about those people. So if they've shown up in the news or published content or changed jobs, or if you're flying to their city, we use all of those as opportunities to present to you intelligent notifications to help you know how best to engage and when best to engage to ultimately kind of build on that relationship. And so those are called 3 or 4 examples amongst probably dozens of others I could give, but some examples of how we help our customers kind of drive and improve those relationships.
And so once the alert goes out, the notification, then say I as the business owner takes the time to actually compose a response or an email or reach out to my network.
You got it.
In terms of automating that? I can imagine the fun of automating an email or knowing annual email for birthdays. Is that something that is frowned upon?
Yeah, so that is certainly our style. Is we believe it's helpful and important to give you the fodder for the outreach, but we think one of our principles as a company is authenticity, which kind of goes back to that conversation we were having around like the LinkedIn automated messages. We believe that the time spent, whether it's a minute, 2 minutes, to put together something that's kind of truly related to that person versus a standard like happy birthday message or the like, has such a meaningful ROI that we've chosen in our product to nudge people in that direction versus the automated format.
Okay, I see what you're doing. Yeah, it's more personable and more intimate in that way to connect
Absolutely.
directly. Especially in a world where everything's via social media, the more connected we are via social media, the more disconnected we are to one another. Ironically,
Absolutely.
right? So this is a way to actually bring that authenticity back to truly being social and connecting with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now, how does 4 Degrees help with data management?
Yeah, I mean, so some of the ways we help with data management would include being plugged into those communication channels again. So as a result, we're able to pick up and track the relationship network of the firm. So in terms of the manual data management people might have historically done to keep track of their important relationships, we're able to actually automate and get rid of a lot of that work on their behalf. We also combine that with a bunch of additional enrichments. So think grabbing people's current and prior roles and locations that they're based in and the last time you spoke with them and being able to pull all that into a consolidated place for you as well. And so we find the combination of the automatic capture of your team's relationship network mixed with some of the enrichment that we're describing tends to provide a lot of value for our customers.
Yes. And how do you fit it into the system? How is it plugged in to a company's current system that they have in place?
Yeah, I mean, it does depend on what systems they have in place. Oftentimes, we tend to find our product is connected to their email and calendar system, which just happens in the back end via a set of APIs or other automated formats.
Yeah.
And then they either use us as a standalone web application. So in the same way you'd go to your Google or to Twitter or whatever other website, you'd go to ours and be able to log in and use the information there. Or we have a set of plugins that can live inside of your inbox and allow you to interact with a lot of that information right from there too.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Thank you.
That's pretty neat. How long has this been in operation?
Yeah, no, we've been around for around 3 years.
Right timing too. Right timing.
Yeah, very much so.
So I want to briefly get into your habits, your principles. You got to stay disciplined to manage and run a successful business and company. Tell us about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So get up. I handle a lot of the standard kind of morning hygiene things, so shower and whatnot. At the beginning of the day, I try to sit down and plan my day. So I look at my calendar, understand what the key meetings are, and then where I have open gaps, and I actually try to schedule my day such that my morning is more open and my afternoons are more kind of filled with meetings. And so I try to figure out what my key priorities are for the day and then slot time on my calendar to handle those specific things. And so for any given week, I probably have 2 or 3 priorities that I've decided are the most important things I want to accomplish that week. And I try to make sure that the time I have slotted in the mornings reflects those priorities. And so, for instance, if I'm recruiting for an important position, I want to make sure I have at least an hour to a 2-hour block on my calendar that says recruiting on it. And so I know that that's where I'm spending my time and energy for that period. I'm also scanning through the different various inboxes that I have. So whether that's my email inbox or our customer service inbox or our internal communication system, Slack, to just make sure that I'm not a blocker for any of the things that my team is trying to accomplish throughout the day. And those are kind of my key habits for kind of getting off and running.
Yeah, and I love the notion of time blocking, but also the brain dump done at night to actually help you schedule out and plan out your day to the next day.
Yeah. No, it really does help me be pretty focused in how I spend that time and reduces, I'm trying to think of the best word for it, but there's a little bit of mental energy or like friction in needing to decide exactly how I want to spend that moment if that time hasn't already been slotted out. And so one of the advantages of kind of taking that block early in the day to plan the rest is it allows me to jump straight into the flow of doing things.
Getting that creative going. What about priming the mind, right? A lot of entrepreneurs rave about setting yourself up for success throughout the day, but there's Some of them is meditation, exercising, moving the body, reading, whatever it is, gratitude that primes the mind. Not just the body, but the mind for whatever the day is, to be prepared for the day and be ready for whatever the day throws at them. Well, what's your take on it? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, so I think for me, the combination of planning the key priorities for the day, which in some sense is somewhat of like setting an intention for how I want, or the things I want to make sure I get done, mixed with a gratitude exercise I actually do, where every day I try to write down kind of 3 things I'm grateful for, kind of starting that morning, are ways that I prime myself for the day. In addition, I think scanning the calendar also helps because it just like gets me prepared for what's to come. So at that point, I'm ready for the things that are already on the calendar and somewhat prepared to handle anything that may be thrown at me along the way as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crucial. It's phenomenal to be intentional about what your goals are, what your plan of, and just to mentally be prepared.
Absolutely.
It's so vital. So go ahead and tell us, how can we connect with you? How can we find you?
Yeah. So on social media, the place where I'm probably most active is on Twitter. So you can find me there at Ablorde Says. For 4 Degrees, you can find us at our website, so we're 4degrees.ai.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll definitely put that on the show note. This has been insightful in actually honing in on the importance of professional networks and how to foster that relationship and keep it going, because you don't want it to be on the back of your mind, in the back burner, but you want to actually concentrate and focus on building those relationships so that, well, it helps business. It's good for business, right? There's no better way to say it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's good for business, and the way to do it. And actually 4 Degrees has set up the platform and the strategy to make that easy and accessible for everyone. So I'm really grateful to have you be on the show and actually sharing that with us today.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate the opportunity to do so and to engage on that with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,